Vengeance and Venom, Book 1, written by Keary and performed by Jesse Elwin. Chapter 10. I'm meeting with my father again this afternoon, Aries says as we walk to the doors of a beautiful modern building. I take it all in, making sure to pay attention to its location, what the lobby is like, what button he presses. Floor 39. I'll be getting access to his files again. I'll start digging as soon as I get any kind of privacy with them. We step into the elevator once it opens, followed by 5 others. What do you think happened to Ophelia? I ask, despite the crowd surrounding us. Everyone is holding their own conversation or has their necks bent down to stare at their phones. Aries shakes his head. Those parties are all about food and chasing the numb bliss, he says, speaking in light code for the sake of any listening ears. And there's always a back door. I watched at the party you were at, and there were 3 people who went with the bouncers through that door and didn't come back out. I was planning to go check out what was behind that door, but you put a twist on the night. Damn it. Maybe if I'd shown up later that night, Aries would have gotten his chance to see what happened beyond that door. Do you think she's... I trail off, unable to vocalize the word. Words matter, and I won't speak those ones aloud. Aries' hand slips into mine. I look over to see him staring at me. I hope not. Augustus might get away with a lot of shit, but bodies are inconvenient. He speaks low enough I don't think anyone else can hear his words. I swallow once and nod, but I'm not sure if my imagination thinks the alternatives are any better. When pretty young women go missing, there is almost always a sad, terrible story attached. The elevator dings and half the crowd gets off, 2 more people replacing them. We make 2 more stops before, finally, the doors open on floor 39. It's all sleek and modern. There is a sign on the wall displaying business names and numbers. Hunt Enterprises is listed as 3903. Aries steps forward, my hand still clasped in his, and hooks to the right. He pushes a door open, and there, just inside, is a woman with salt and pepper hair, but she doesn't look old, just prematurely gray. She wears a smart button-up shirt and looks up from her paperwork when we walk in. Lana, this is Pat, Aries introduces. She runs the office, keeps us all on our toes. Pat, this is my fiancée, Lana. Fiancée? She asks with a doubtful raised eyebrow. As of 8 days ago, I say, flashing a proud smile. I hold up my left hand, displaying the massive rock on my finger for show. Pat looks from me to Aries, not buying it. Haven't you wondered why you've hardly seen me the last few weeks? Aries says simply, and he turns and walks farther into the office. Down that way is our accountant, Tom D., Aries says, waving a hand down the hall. And our property manager, Lydia. Our attorney, Nadia, works from home part-time. I don't think she's in today. Weird. Aries has this whole team of people who work for him. It's a constantly moving, huge operation, yet I've hardly seen the evidence of any of it outside the office. Some are good at separating their work and home life. Guess Aries is an expert. Straight back, Aries aims us toward a door. Sitting in a chair just outside of it is a man. He stands the moment we walk up. Mr. Hunt, he says, extending a hand. I'm excited to get started today. Just Aries, my fake fiancé says as he shakes the man's hand. Aries pushes the door open, revealing an office that couldn't be more different from his father's. It's all modern and crisp, and there's almost nothing personal in it. Very few books, no stacks of stuff, except there on his desk, 1 framed photo of me. Damn, I blush hard. I don't even know when he took it, or when he had time to frame it and bring it here. I feel like we've been together almost nonstop. Aries rounds his desk and sinks down into the seat. There are 3 seats directly across from the desk, so I sink into one. The man takes another. Lana, this is James St. Clair, my new property executor, Aries says as he leans back in his seat. James, my fiancée, Lana. Pleasure to meet you, he says, angling toward me and shaking my hand. And there's something a little too concrete about his grip. He's like you? I direct my question at Aries without looking away from James. Yes, Aries answers. So is Tom D. Pat knows about us. Lydia and Nadia don't, though. Well, that sounds complicated. I look James over, taking note of this man who's about to become a big part of Aries' life. I'd guess he's about 30, maybe a tad younger. He has a strong jawline, and there's something a tad mischievous in his eyes. He sports sandy brown hair and green eyes that are almost yellow. I've never seen anyone with eyes like his. This whole reality of vampires is still kind of blowing my mind, I admit, since the door is closed. If the immortality thing is real, Aries is just a baby. How long have you been what you are? Direct, James notes, looking at Aries with a grin. I like it. I resurrected at 27, but I've been that age for 19 years. Still not that impressively old. I'm surprised James is only 1 year older than Aries. He seems older for some reason, though I suppose he should be 46, so maybe it's just that. Where are you from originally? I ask, but I'm not sure why I feel such a need to quiz him. I was born in Los Angeles, but I never stayed put anywhere long, he answers. He leans back in his seat, crossing one ankle over the opposite knee. My mother didn't like my dad much, so I lived with her until the booze took her down. I lived with my father after that, who traveled constantly. Got sick of that when I became an adult. Lived in Europe for a few years until that got old. Been settling in Manhattan for the last 3 years. I like it here. Think I'll stay for a good long while. Your references were all raves, Aries points out. Your portfolio wasn't anything to ignore. I think you're a good fit for Hunt Enterprises. Well, thank you, sir, James says, which sounds weird, considering they look so close in age. I look forward to getting started. Aries nods, and his eyes slide over to me. I'll see you at dinner, kitten. My duty here is done. I nod and stand, and because we have to sell this show to everyone in our lives, I step forward. I lay my hand on Aries' chest and lean in. My lips find his, something soft and tempting in the lightest touch. His fingers lace into my hair, and he draws me closer, the kiss turning slightly more demanding. See you at dinner, I say, my voice coming out slightly raspy. Aries nods, holding my gaze, and he watches as I turn and head to the door. Nice to meet you, James says again, and I find him fully blushed, looking slightly embarrassed and uncomfortable to be in the same room as me and Aries. You too, I say with a smirk, feeling smug for no credible reason. I let my hips sway as I cross to the door. Billings is waiting downstairs for you, Aries says. I look back at him to see the most adorable smile on his lips, though it looks like he's trying to fight it. He brushes a thumb over his bottom lip. Thanks, darling, I say, winking as I walk out. You know everything? Pat surprises me by asking as I walk past her desk to the exit. There's a challenge in her tone, one that tells me she doesn't think I do, and she's feeling sassy about it. I think so. All the important, fanged parts, anyway, I say, giving her a wink as well before I let myself out of the office. When I walk back out, Billings is indeed waiting at the curb for me. I climb in and give him the address of the gym. It takes us a good 25 minutes to get there with the current traffic. With nearly 2 million people on this island, which is only 22 square miles, congestion is constant. But I love it. I can't imagine living anywhere else. I love the chaos, that there's always something to do, somewhere to be. I love the diversity of people and the endless variety of food options. I love the wonder of the city because that's what it is, a modern miracle, that humans built all of this. Such tiny little creatures, creating such massive structures. Finally, Billings pulls into the parking garage behind the gym. I'm not really sure how long I'll be, I say as I pull out my cell. Should I just call you when I'm nearly done? I work exclusively for Aries, Billings says, shaking his head. Mr. Hunt doesn't have anywhere to be anytime soon. I'll be waiting for you. Thank you, I say, truly appreciative yet shocked by that revelation. Billings drives us a total of maybe an hour a day, and this is his only gig? I don't get people with money. I can't imagine having that much extra of it. I climb out of the SUV and head around to the front of the building. That familiar sense of home mixed with hurt fills my chest as I take in the old brick structure. This is the place I came to after the worst day of my life, after I lost the most beautiful woman in the world, the one who always took the time to truly listen, and the sister who could be such a pest but always made me feel important because she looked up to me. And then it was my refuge, where I could work out all of my anger and grief, where Dad was always there, where we cried together, where we tried to hold each other together. And then it was taken from me. With a steadying breath, I push open the doors and walk inside. But where it should be busy and loud, it's quiet and damn near empty. My brows furrowed, I wander in. There's one of the old regulars on a bag at the far end of the gym, but both rings are empty. The classroom doesn't reveal anyone inside. I turn down the hall, and filled with nervous dread, I knock on Tate's door. When no one answers, I push the door open and find it completely empty. Nothing on the desk. The shelves are totally cleared out. No computer, no scheduling calendar on the wall. Every trace of Tate is gone. Thought I heard someone walk in. I jump about 3 feet, and my heart relocates to my throat as I turn around and find Garrett standing in the hall. Just me, he chuckles, holding his hands up. What's going on? I question, my brows furrowing. Where is everyone? Where's Tate? You don't know? He says, arching an eyebrow at me. I shake my head, feeling more confused by the second. That tatted guy you walked in here with last week, Garrett begins. Came in here early one morning, made Tate an offer he couldn't refuse. The bastard wasn't happy about it. He really doesn't like whoever the hell that guy is. But when you make that kind of offer... Aries bought the gym? I gape. Garrett nods. Told Tate to be the fuck out of here by the end of the day, the apartment included. Been a little chaotic in here ever since, still trying to figure out how to get things rolling forward again. Who? I stutter, at a loss for words. Who's running the place, then? Garrett sighs, running a hand through his messy gray hair. You said his name is Aries? He asks. I nod. Well, Aries asked me if I thought I could run it like your dad used to. When I told him I didn't want to, he asked if I knew anyone who might want the job until you're ready to step in. Until I'm ready. Fuck. We talked about it one day, what I had wanted for my future. I'd told him I wanted to run the gym, just like my dad, and Aries went and bought it back from the bastard that snaked it out from under me. You give him anyone? I ask, my words coming out a little rough. My head is spinning. Larry, he answers, smiling, because he knows exactly how I'll react. Larry is coming back? I say loudly, excitement sparking into my tone. Garrett nods. Larry ran the gym with my father for 8 years. He left a year before my dad died, moving upstate to take care of his aging mother. He's got to be in his 60s now. But he and my father were two sides of the same coin. I couldn't imagine a better situation. It's temporary, and Larry knows it, Garrett continues with a satisfied smile on his lips. He's moving into his new place today, and he'll be diving in tomorrow. But Aries insisted the apartment stay open for you, for whenever you want it. My throat tightens, and something at the back of my eyes stings. I live with Aries now, in a gorgeous apartment on Central Park, but I told Aries what this place means to me, my home, and he's bought it and is holding it for me. Looks like you picked a winner, Garrett says with a wink. I gotta get back to it, but it's good to see you, Lana. You coming back to work soon? Hopefully next week, I say, though I don't know if that's realistic or not. Good, Garrett says as he wanders down the hall. Your students are getting anxious. The ladies might like looking at Josh, but he scares most of them. I chuckle. Josh is the other instructor here, just part-time. He is indeed something to look at, even if he is in his mid-40s, but he is intimidating. I know exactly what Garrett is talking about. Thanks for always being here, Garrett, I say as I stop in front of the doors. It's home, he says with a shrug. I think we're all just pretty damn happy that Jackhole Tate is gone. Tell Aries thank you for me for that one. I will, I chuckle. I wrap my arms around him in a quick hug. See you soon. Bye, Lana, he calls as he wanders back over to his client, the only other person in the building currently. I shake my head as I step outside. I glance up at the building as I walk out. This isn't a nice part of town. This isn't a big building. It needs some work and it's run down. But it means everything to me. And Aries went and bought it for me. That's not the kind of thoughtful thing a fake fiancé is supposed to do, and it's not going to help me in keeping my heart guarded. Because this is supposed to be transactional between me and him, a way for both of us to get what we want. But the line is starting to look really, really blurry to me. Chapter 11. I walk into the building from a morning run through Central Park, which might have been a mistake. With how muggy it was out there, I should have just stuck with the treadmill. But with this kind of front door access, how could I not every now and then? "Mail is here, Miss Kincaid," a voice calls out as I cross the lobby. I look over my shoulder to find Laz walking over, a stack of mail extended in his hand. "Thank you," I say, still catching my breath. I take it and step into the elevator. It's mostly junk mail, what looks like a credit card statement for Aries. I am so tempted to open it and see just how much money he spends every month, but that's stepping over the line. There's a cell phone upgrade offer for me, but it's the silky golden envelope with just the names of Aries and Lana written on it that draws my attention. It does have my name on it, I reason, as I step off the elevator and walk down the hall. I use my keys to open the door and lock it again behind me. Setting all the other mail on the counter, I slip my finger under the flap of the golden envelope. "You are formally invited to the New York City Barons Solstice Ball," it says in an elegant script. I don't know what the address is, but I'm sure it's something high-end. The date is 3 days away, and the start time is, of course, midnight. Attire, black tie. Let those formal events Augustus mentioned commence. I snap a picture of the invitation and text it to Aries. "Just how formal are we talking?" I send, along with the image. "Formal." His response comes through almost immediately. "I'm having Billings pick you up in an hour. Was there anything from the credit card company with the mail?" "Yes," I answer him, my brow furrowing. "Open it." So he wants to brag, I think to myself as I reach for the white envelope. I tear it open and pull out the pages. Only it isn't a statement. It's a brand new black card, and it has my name printed on it. "What the fuck is this?" I fire off. "I know you said money is a touchy subject, but I can't ask you to pay for shit you wouldn't normally be buying," he answers me. "Don't make it more of a thing than it is. Take it with you. Billings knows where you're going." "Okay, Augustus," I send off, both amused and annoyed. "Don't ever call me that again, Lana. This is your only warning." My face heats as I blush. That really was rude of me. Aries might have money, and he might be sending me on a shopping trip, but he's nothing like his shark of a father. "Sorry," I type out. "That was a dick thing of me to say. Thank you." He simply likes my message. I'm not sure how to interpret that, but I don't let myself overthink it. I peel the card off the page and activate it. And then I dash into the shower to hurry and get ready. Exactly an hour later, I walk out to the curb, just as Billings pulls up. He opens the door for me, and I climb in, and he sets off down the road. Just 15 minutes later, we stop in front of a shop with a name so fancy I don't even know how to pronounce it. But as I walk into the shop alone, I swallow once. Ophelia should be with me. She loved an excuse to get dressed up. Loves. I correct myself. I internally chide myself for thinking in past tense. I'm going to find her. It's taking forever. And currently, with no leads, it's easy to feel hopeless. But I'm going to find her. But damn, I really need more friends. Who wants to shop for a fancy event by themselves? I pull out my phone and scroll through my contacts. When I reach her name, I click it and hold the device to my ear. "Lana," Clementine's friendly voice comes through. "It's good to hear from you." "Hey," I greet her. "Any chance you're free, like, right now?" "Everything all right?" she asks, her tone shifting to worried. "I'm fine," I reassure her. "Aries has just sent me on a shopping hunt, and I feel pretty fucking lame doing it by myself." "I am so glad you called." She simply says and asks for my location. She assures me she will be here in 15 minutes, and we end the call. I would have called Aries' sister, Florence, but as the head of a pharmaceutical company, there's no way she won't be busy at work at 11 in the morning on a Tuesday. But Clementine, her wife, is the sweetest and calmest person I've ever met. 25 minutes later, because she does everything with understated flair, Clementine glides through the front doors, a serious set of sunglasses perched on her face, and it's the perfect afternoon. Trying on dresses that cost over 10 grand a piece, rejecting the ones we hate, complimenting one another, twirling before the mirror. And I don't know if the shop workers know who we are or if they can just smell the money, but they bend over backwards for us. And a huge part of me hates it, acting like a spoiled rich girlfriend, looking like one. But there's another part, one that appreciates having someone wait on me for a change, that feels like I've let out a breath at being taken care of for the first time in forever and ever. By the end of the afternoon, Clementine stands beside me wearing a deep blue dress that lays across her chest and stomach in folds before fanning out around her. In contrast with her skin, she's radiant, and I stand there in a golden dress that is dangerously close to the same shade as my skin. I damn near look naked. It hugs my chest with a severe pattern that's sharp and pointed, and then it looks damn near painted on my waist. It hugs my ass and hips before gathering into a gorgeous bustle and then cascading down to the floor. I admire my profile in the mirror. I made myself not look at the price tags. If Aries sent me here, he's aware of how much these creations cost. "That dress was made for you," Clementine compliments. She looks me up and down, her raised brows a testament to what she's saying. "You think Aries will approve?" What the fuck? Since when have I ever cared if a man would approve? "I think the best approval is in how long it takes for the dress to land on the floor," Clementine says with a smirk. "I'd wager that just might happen before you can step foot out the door." My cheeks heat as I look at my reflection, and I know I can't lie to myself. It's exactly what I've been fantasizing about since I put the dress on. Chapter 12. I dig through Ophelia's social media profiles, every single account she has, even the secret spam ones. When you know someone well enough, it isn't hard to find what they try to keep private. Not that she's keeping anything particularly interesting a secret, but there are no posts since she went missing. I make a call to her landlord. He hasn't seen Ophelia, and he lets me know that she has 2 weeks to get caught up on her past due rent, or she'll be evicted. I use the credit card Aries gave me to pay for her rent. It just about kills me, the guilt eating me alive, but I vow to pay him back for it. Taking this time off work is making a massive hit on my bank account, but it won't be that way forever. I call Ophelia's job at the law firm, and the secretary is the only one I get a hold of. He hasn't seen Ophelia in weeks either, and she didn't give them any notice she was leaving. She's already been replaced at work. Her email address isn't all that difficult to break into. Piss off 111 exclamation point is her password, one I've seen her enter before. There's nothing out of the ordinary, and she hasn't sent any emails since she disappeared. Lastly, I call the police department where I filed the missing persons report. I'm put on hold for 2 minutes while they connect me with the assigned detective. "You callin' about a Miss Ophelia Bennett?" A gruff man with an older-sounding voice finally connects. "Yes," I answer desperately. "I was wondering if there were any new leads on her?" "Not much, but we finally got the footage from the bank across the street from where you said she was last known to be," he answers, which shocks the hell out of me. After so many dead ends today, to have something, anything, is the world. She did go into that building around 11:30 alone. The footage is kind of grainy, and there was only one window that wasn't blocked, so I couldn't get any footage of her inside. But I watched the footage for 24 hours forward from when she entered. Miss Bennett did not walk out, at least out the front door. "Is there a back exit to the building?" I ask, feeling desperate. "I haven't gotten a hold of the owner of the facility yet to go in and investigate that. I can call you back as soon as I get an answer." "Do you know who owns the space?" I ask, reaching across the kitchen island for a pen laying there and the golden envelope from the ball invitation. He draws out, and I hear the tapping of a keyboard. "Looks like Wind Up Properties Enterprise." "You happen to have a phone number?" I ask, my heart beating very fast. Good luck, he says after he rattles it off. Usually, you leave voicemails stating you're with the police department. You get a pretty quick callback, but not this one. Thank you so much, I say, feeling hope surging for the first time. It's something. The first something I've got. Please, call me as soon as you find out anything else. I will, he promises, sounding more caring than I'd expect. I'm glad Miss Bennett has someone like you who cares about her. Too many people just drop off the face of the planet with no one to go looking for them. That's what best friends do, I reply. The detective gives an affirming noise and ends the call. Just as I lay my phone on the counter, the front door opens, which makes me jump about 3 inches in my seat, and my heart takes up residence at the base of my throat. Everything okay? Aries asks as he walks in. His motorcycle helmet is tucked under his arm, and as he walks in, he sets it on the island. I got a hold of the detective that's working Ophelia's case, I say, an unsure smile trying to crack on my lips. I relay the information I just received. Now I know she didn't leave the space the way she came in, and that's not normal. No, Aries agrees as he lays his hands on the countertop. It's not. You don't leave out a back door for no innocuous reason. I shake my head. But at least I also know she wasn't carried out the front door in a body bag either, I say, hating the formation of the words but relieved by them. Are you familiar with wind-up properties? The name sounds familiar, but that only means they're not a particularly heavy player in the city, Aries says, which tells me he is quite familiar with all the heavy hitters in New York City. We could do a walk-by, and I happen to be very good at getting through locked doors. I arch an eyebrow at him, but at the look in his eyes, he knows as well as I do that we might not ever hear back from the detective that he's been granted access to see if there's a back exit. Let's do it, I say, and a familiar darkness creeps into my chest, one that feels a little reckless, a little dangerous, a little like the fuck it version of myself I was as a traumatized teenager. Aries nods. I've been invited to a meeting tonight. We'll go by on the way to that. What kind of meeting? I question, my brows furrowed. One Augustus invited me to, Aries says, his tone darkening in depth. One with other prominent vampires in the city. Oh, shit, I say, my brows rising. Is that what it meant by the New York City Barons? That's what I'm starting to wonder. Aries agrees. But in my digging, I haven't found anything online about what that means or who these people are. No surprise there. It's not the best idea for vampires to have an online footprint. Which seems to remind him. Aries crosses to the fridge, and there, at the back, is a box. From that box, he removes what I realize is a bag of donated blood. The sight of it makes my stomach turn, and I look away just before Aries bites into it. There's the sound of gulping as he drains it. My eyes squeezed closed. I can never forget the reality of what Aries is, of what it means. Blood. It means he drinks blood. Human blood. It's all too easy to forget that vampire isn't an arbitrary term, that Aries doesn't just look like a bad boy. He literally has fangs and inhuman strength, wicked speed. Aries is exceptionally dangerous. I can't ever forget that. My voice shakes as I try to vocalize the question burning in my chest right now. I've seen other vampires feed directly from people, but you just grabbed that like it was a Capri Sun. Do you? I rarely feed from a live person, Aries says. As I look into his eyes, I think he doesn't like me asking about this, though he doesn't seem upset about it. I've seen some pretty shitty behavior from other vampires. I just don't want to be one of the assholes. So I've been getting bagged supplies since I got back into the city. I nod, my eyes falling away. At least he's a vampire with a conscience. I hear the sound of something dropping into the trash and look up. Aries closes the cabinet that hides the trash and turns back around, his expression gathered, calm, focused. I want you at that meeting. It takes my brain a second to remember what we'd been talking about before I asked the uncomfortable question. You're smart, Vengeance. Between the two of us, I know we can glean something we can use. His compliments warm my chest, even if the thought of being in a room with powerful vampires makes me squirm. You think they'll let me in the room? This doesn't exactly sound like a meeting they let little human women in on. He lifts his chin. You're Lana fucking Kincaid, remember? There isn't a chair at any table in this city you don't belong at. Shit. The things this man does for my confidence, for my feelings of self-worth. I've always been the poor girl who lived in a dumpy apartment, and then the tiny little space above the sweaty-smelling gym. The girl with the angry attitude and the grief trauma. The one who struggled to make ends meet. The one who had nothing and nobody. But Aries Hunt, billionaire, businessman, the tattooed bad boy with the body of a god, tells me I am heir of the city. Okay, I agree, trying to absorb his confidence through osmosis. How soon should we leave? As soon as you're ready, he answers. We just need a quick outfit change. With a smirk, he steps around the island and heads toward our bedroom. 20 minutes later, I'm dressed in these incredible flowy black pants and a white top that is very nearly just a corset. I pull my hair up into a sexy but powerful updo. I don a pair of red heels. But the moment Aries steps out of the closet, my heart stops. No, utterly disappears from my chest. I've never seen Aries wear anything but casual clothes. T-shirts, jackets, jeans, the like. Aries in an all-black suit will be my undoing. Aries in a suit perfectly tailored to fit his godlike body will be the death of me. Like what you see, Vengeance? His voice is a purr. Oh shit. I didn't mean the words to come out, but the very pleased look on Aries' face tells me they escaped. Right back at you, kitten, he says as he walks by me, pausing just slightly, his lips only a breath from the shell of my ear. My entire body breaks out in goosebumps. 20 minutes later, Billings stops the SUV half a block down the street. From here, Aries and I get out and walk. It's not exactly quiet, but New York City never is. But it is 11:30 on a Wednesday. There's at least not hordes of people out. This is it, I say, as my eyes lock in on the doors. There's nothing exceptional about this place. It's an old building, but I wouldn't call it particularly charming. There's an old wood door that isn't necessarily classic. There's one window that faces the street, but it's small and kind of dingy. Considering the lights are off, it's safe to say there are no events happening right now. Aries walks straight to the door and tests it. Of course, it's locked. But he pulls a set of tools from his pocket, and in literally no more than 2 seconds, he swings the door open. I don't know why I kind of just expected you to just bust off the doorknob or something, I admit, keeping my voice quiet as I follow Aries inside. Signs of breaking and entering don't do anyone any good, he says as he looks around. I can't really see anything. The space is too dark. But Aries strides in, confident, knowing the exact direction he's headed. So, putting my hands out in front of me while my eyes try to adjust, I cautiously step forward. There's nothing special about this place, Aries says, somewhere in the dark. Just like the place we met. Bar, lounging, bathroom. Augustus owns 100 places that are better than this. So why the hell is he renting a place like this? It's questionable to the 1000th degree. Finally, my eyes start to adjust to the nearly non-existent light. He's right. There's a bar. There are 5 different couches set up throughout the place, a handful of other chairs. There's a disco ball hanging from the ceiling. I see a clearly marked sign for a bathroom. Back door, I point out, even as Aries takes a step toward it. I glance over my shoulder, checking we're not about to get caught. But the door remains shut, and the voices outside pass by without hesitating here. Aries pushes that door open, which reveals an even darker hallway. Aries reaches a hand back, and I take it, knowing I'm about to be blind. There's a step down here. He guides me in the dark. Totally blind, I sweep my foot over the ground until I find the step, probably looking like an idiot to a vampire who can see in the dark. But I find level ground, and Aries sets out like it's noon outside. It's a hallway, he tells me. 3 other doors so far. One for the restaurant next door. Others are open, just offices. I can smell outside air down this way, though. So there is a back exit, I conclude, though truthfully, it was the only obvious answer. And sure enough, just a few seconds later, a door squeals as Aries pushes it open. Light meets my eyes once more. We step out into the back alleyway. It's a long one, servicing all the buildings that surround us. There's a dumpster just to our right, but besides that, there's nothing out of the ordinary out here, save for the homeless man sitting at the entry of it, a dog sleeping at his feet. It would be plenty easy to take someone out this way, You just walk right out onto the street, Aries says, as he takes it all in. Or load them up in your car, I point out. You could easily drive a whole truck up into here. Aries makes an affirmative noise. I found some statements for the rental. Augustus only rented this place once. It's the same case with the others. Only once. Never the same place twice. What about future red parties? I ask. Has he put down any deposits on any other places? Not that I can tell, but it's gotta be in the works, Aries says as he guides me back into the dark hallway, and we pull the door closed behind us. He's been putting them on a pretty consistent basis for over a year now. Every 2 to 3 weeks. It's gotta be any day now, I point out as I follow blindly behind Aries. This weekend will be 3 weeks since the one we met at. I'm guessing the Baron's ball put it off, Aries points out. So it's gotta be next week, I say, as Aries guides me up over that step again, and we walk back into the rental space. Seems likely, but never count Augustus as predictable, he says, closing the back door behind us. Never, I agree. Even though I've only met the man once, a man who propositions his son's fiancée after dinner isn't a man you can predict the actions of. Come on, Aries says as I see his silhouette cross back to the main door. We need to get going. We can't be late to that meeting. Nodding, I follow after him. He opens the door and confidently strides out, which is smart. Act like you belong and no one will question it. I walk out after him, and Aries locks the door once more and pulls it closed. We climb back into the SUV, and Billings merges back into the light traffic. I don't know what it really helps, but at least now I know Ophelia left out the back, I say, mulling it all over. It's something, Aries agrees. He reaches across and takes my hand. My eyes rise up to meet his hazel ones. We'll figure out what happened to her. He doesn't promise we'll find her. I swallow hard, because I know the likely outcome, logically. My gut has been trying to tell me for a while now, so Aries doesn't make promises he can't keep. But I see it in his eyes. He means it. He will help me find out what happened to her. We roll through the night, and at just 10 minutes to midnight, we pull into a parking garage. Not wasting any time, Aries guides me to the elevators. We step inside, and he presses the button for the 79th floor. It's a silent, anxious ride up. And I find myself wondering how the hell I ended up here. Just a few weeks ago, I was teaching self-defense classes and eating microwave mac and cheese by myself in my bedroom. And now, I'm about to walk into a room filled with rich, dangerous vampires who run this city after dark. And the man standing beside me, the one who's covered in tattoos, the one who looks like he runs an illegal casino and will break fingers if you don't pay him what he's owed, the one who is smooth and calm and supportive. He slips his hand into mine, interlacing our fingers once we slide past the 70th floor. He brushes his thumb over my knuckles, a soothing action. This is your life, Lana, I tell myself. Fake it if you have to, but don't let them think you're weak. I raise my chin as the elevator dings and the doors slide open. Side by side, Aries and I step out. There's an open lobby, but there's nowhere else to go but straight to the giant double glass doors ahead. There's no signage, no names on the door. It's the kind of space that says if you don't know exactly where you're going, you're not meant to be here. Aries pulls the door open and I walk through. My grip tightens on his by the second, but he doesn't even flinch. It's a huge room, filled with modern, shiny tables and black and silver chairs. Everything is polished, cleaned, and dusted to perfection. I'd almost guessed this was some kind of high-end club. There's a gleaming bar at the back of the space, and all around the entire area are floor-to-ceiling windows, granting us a gorgeous night view of New York. Near the windows in the center of the space, an area has been cleared, and a dozen chairs are circled up. There are 5 men sitting there, talking amongst themselves, including Augustus. Aries' father looks up, and immediately his eyes go to me. They narrow, and I'm sure he's recalling our last encounter with my nails digging into his scrotum. And from the lack of other women here, I'd guess my presence isn't welcome due to the fact that I own a vagina. This is a closed meeting, son, Augustus says. He spreads his arms wide on the chair. Leaned back, one ankle crossed over the opposite knee, he's the picture of collected and calm, but the tension in his shoulders gives him away. Marriage means equality, Aries says as he walks us into the circle of chairs. He guides me down into one before taking the seat right next to me. I note he's placed me as far from his father as possible. He takes my hand once more, the action extremely deliberate. It means truth and trust. I don't keep anything from Lana. I don't make decisions without her. So my presence here means her presence as well. This isn't how we do things, Augustus. A man growls. He's older than Augustus and kind of an ugly man. His nose is bulbous, his hair a bit greasy and slicked back. He wears a tacky suit like he's trying to look like a mobster. Time has shown us that evolution is essential to survival, Ares says, his tone low and dangerous as he levels the man with a look. Even immortals could stand to learn from this. My fiancé stays. The doors to the space swing open, and in walks another man. His eyes immediately flick to me, but he doesn't seem threatened by my presence, not like the others. It's your risk to take, my son, Augustus says. He steeples his fingers before him, his gaze fixed on me. Every piece of information you share with this human woman, one who won't be one of us someday, puts her in more danger. You do realize what must happen to her should the two of you break up. Ice washes over my skin at his words. None of us have to worry about that, Ares says as he brings my hand to his mouth and presses a kiss to my knuckles. Besides, you wouldn't hurt the mother of your unborn grandchildren, would you? At this, Augustus's eyes widen. Does that mean? I'm late, I say with a shrug. But there are 2 more days until I can take a test. Shit, my acting skills have their limits. I'm already pretending to be Ares' fiancé. I'm not sure I'm up to pretending to be pregnant as well. This softens the look in Augustus's eyes, and it makes me sick. I feel like a breeding cow. Produce babies and you're valuable. Don't and you're nothing but scrap meat. It's your risk to take, son, Augustus says with a shrug. Just don't doubt the outcome if things end. I heard you, Ares says, his tone hard. His hold on my hand tightens. He does not agree to Augustus's terms, though. I don't miss that. Let's begin, then. Augustus moves on. I'd like to introduce you all to my son, Ares Hunt. We've recently been reunited. While he might be a bit emotion-driven, he's an impressive businessman and knows this city. Ares, let me introduce you to the New York City Barons. Shit, this sounds so formal, so sinister. Vampiric barons who run the city. Giovanni Bosco. Augustus introduces the ugly man who spoke up earlier. Cliff Morgan. He indicates the next man. He's younger, probably around Ares' age. His hair is blonde and done in the most anal way. He's handsome in a nerdy, uptight way. Preppy rich boy vibes radiate off him without him saying a word. Cisco Sullivan. The man sports a buzz cut. His thin mustache and the all-black clothing he wears make him look like he should run an Ares crowd. If we were going by looks alone, I wouldn't want to mess with Cisco. And Harry Kim, the man who came in after us. He looks around 30, black hair and clear skin. He wears a clean, crisp suit. He looks too innocent and normal to be in this room with this crowd. Nice to meet you all, Ares says with a dip of his head. This is my fiancée, Lana. I can tell you all you don't have anything to worry about with me here, I say, trying to establish my own presence, to assume my character. This isn't the first time my life has been threatened by a rich bully. I look over at Augustus, crooking a little smile at the memory of the noise he made when I nearly brought him to his knees. This brings a little snigger of entertainment from Cisco and Giovanni. You'll have your hands full with this one as your daughter-in-law, Augustus, Cisco says. Let's all hope she doesn't go the way of Natalia, said father-in-law says darkly. And I can't help but wonder what happened to Natalia because Cisco immediately shuts up. Are we here to talk shit or to bring in another baron? Harry speaks up, breaking up the constant banter and snark. He folds his hands over his hip, his expression collected and cool. If you trust your son to come into the circle, Augustus, then you ought to trust his fiancée. The line of trust is a trickle effect. If this is personal, handle it when you don't have to waste everyone else's time. I think I just might like Harry Kim. The Barons organized 21 years ago, Augustus says, finally getting to something useful instead of giving Ares and me shit. New York used to be run by the Steele family, but after their demise, it left a hole, a void to be filled. I've never heard of the Steele family, Ares says, though he doesn't sound desperate for the information. He's playing it extremely cool and collected. There were 4 brothers, Cisco speaks up. They ran this city for 2 damn centuries. Now we're talking. I hear these vampires are supposed to be immortal, but no one has seemed to be older than 50 or so years. 2 centuries. That sounds more like what I expected. They had a lot of children. Cliff speaks for the first time. Overall, there was something like 40 cousins, and they kept New York in check. Most of them were arrogant assholes. Cisco takes the conversation back over. But they kept the city out of trouble. But then one of the uncles went crazy. Slaughtered the whole family in one night. Went crazy, Ares says, his tone questioning. My brows furrow because it couldn't have been so simple. Giovanni nods. No one knows what really happened, but yes, the man just started working his way through the city, killing his family members one at a time. I think he must have taken himself out in the process because he was found in the slaughter a day later. Crazy, Cisco punctuates, raising his eyebrows and tilting his head a little. The sudden elimination of the Steele family left a void, Augustus says, trying to rein back in the story. Large numbers of vampires left unchecked leave all of us in danger. But some of us, we had a vision for more. And here it is, what the reason for all of this is, what Augustus wants. New York has always been full of opportunity, Augustus continues. As the city that never sleeps, it's the perfect place for a strong vampiric hold. Yet our numbers are not high, nothing like Seattle, nothing like Chicago, and it's not just about numbers. Influence is power, Giovanni says. He leans back in his seat, rubbing his hands together. The nation believes the government has the most influence on the general population. Yet there is influence from all kinds of different organizations, different families, different systems. The Barons have been acquiring significant land holdings in New York for the past 20 years. Augustus takes the conversation once more. When you own such a significant portion, you have sway. I'll own 20% of Harlem in the next 10 years, Cisco says with a barely surpassed smirk. Not to mention how many of the docks I've already acquired. Shit, that's wild. Looking at him, one would never guess Cisco had that kind of money, or drive. But as I've learned from Ares, never judge a book by its cover. My family already owned 10% of Morningside Heights. Cliff speaks up. And of course, he's old money. Even his stupid haircut screams it. I've already acquired another 5% in the past 2 years. My next focus is in the Clinton area. So much damn wealth. What is this? Harry asks, dark annoyance starting to creep into his tone. A bragging session? If you want to swing your dicks, you've got the wrong crowd. If you want approval for your son to be made a baron, Augustus, you've got it. I've already looked up Ares' portfolio. He's accomplished more in 10 years than any of the rest of us, and he was totally inactive for 3 of those years. I don't buy into the breeding program like the rest of you, but he's obviously going in the direction you want him. Harry indicates me and those future grandbabies. I have other shit to attend to. Are we voting tonight? He's got my vote, Cisco says, and there's something a little feral about his smile, a little manic. He's a wild card, one to keep an eye on. But there's something honest about him, and I think I like him. I see no reason to make this complicated. Augustus smiles, a wicked thing. Everything in his plan is lining out. He looks expectantly at Giovanni and Cliff. I need more time to look into him, Giovanni says, and his tone makes me think he just wants to make us squirm. He just wants to be difficult. We shall see how he performs at the ball, and how his human woman handles the pressure. A baron must be tested. Augustus makes a low growl sound in the back of his throat, and red embers ignite in his eyes. I see his grip on the chair tighten. But it's obvious he is not the sole dictator of the barons because he doesn't say anything. His gaze shifts over to Cliff. I agree. Cliff speaks up, though he looks nervous and he doesn't look at Aries. It's too soon. If he handles the ball, if he shows he can keep his cool, if Lana can do what is needed of her, then I think we can move forward. Fuck that. But I can't say anything. We both have a part to play right now. This is simply a means to an end. Then we can all look forward to the ball with great anticipation, Augustus says through clenched teeth. I know my son won't disappoint. Those words sound like a threat. We will see you all again on Saturday, then, Harry says, and without waiting for any further discussion, he stands, nods to the group in general, and makes his way to the doors. There, where I didn't notice before, waits an obvious bodyguard, a massive man with deadly-looking hands. The concept of a vampire needing a bodyguard is wild to me, and it makes me wonder, is Augustus the most powerful in this group, or is it the one with the calm demeanor and zero patience for bullshit? Pleasure meeting you, Lana, Cisco says as he stands, shaking my hand. He presses a quick kiss to the back of it, and Aries bristles. Aries, I think we should go out sometime. You and I, we're not like these other guys. The way he says it, it's a compliment. I'll call you, Aries says, but from his tone, I can't tell if he means it or not. Cisco gives us a nod and makes his exit. I hope you don't take it personally, Giovanni says as he stands, as does Cliff. The inner circle is tight. With matters as important as these, one cannot be too careful. Of course, Aries says as he gets to his feet, and it shouldn't be satisfying that he's at least 4 inches taller than Giovanni and a good 6 inches taller than Cliff. We protect what we care about. Aries shakes Giovanni's hand, and despite both of them being vampires, Giovanni winces, attempting to control it. Cliff, Aries says, looking over at the squirrely man with a wicked smile that could rival Augustus's. Pleasure. Cliff doesn't say a word, simply swallows hard. He gives a nod and immediately turns and leaves. Giovanni follows right after him. Did I play your part well enough, Father? Aries asks once the others have exited. My nerves kick into high gear again. You barely spoke 10 words, Augustus says, fixing his son with a withering, cold stare. Had you asserted yourself, spoken for your damn self, instead of letting Harry Kim do it for you in the most simplistic way possible, you'd be a baron already. Patience, Father, Aries says, not rising to his father's baiting. Good things come to those who keep their fucking cool. Aries takes my hand, and like he hasn't just poked the bear with 1,000 toothpicks, he guides me back to those doors, and we make our dramatic exit. Chapter 13. I'm going back to work on Monday, I say as we exit the SUV and walk to the doors of Augustus's house. I'm getting stir-crazy, and since Larry is taking over the gym, he's got way too much to juggle. By the way, were you ever going to tell me you bought the gym and kicked Tate to the curb? A smile curls on Aries' lip as he opens the door for me. I figured you'd find out on your own. Your money is mostly annoying, I say as we walk inside. I drop my voice, even though Augustus can probably hear me. But thank you. It means a lot to me. You're welcome, Vengeance, he says. And it never fails. Every time he uses the nickname, goosebumps wash over my skin. And I really, really like the look in his eyes when he uses it. The house is quiet when we first walk in. No signs of life. This should only take a minute, Aries says as we walk up the stairs. He's here to pick up some paperwork. I don't understand their world, so whatever that paperwork is, it's meaningless to me. But it's all part of getting Aries access to the records that might lead us to where Ophelia is. The sound of a woman giggling pauses me on the stairs. Aries looks back at me, his eyes widening as he stops, listening for if we need to retreat and head back out. Aries, Augustus calls out from the floor we haven't quite reached. Lana, come on up. The look on Aries' face tells me he'd really, really rather not, but holding my hand tighter, he continues up the stairs. A woman walks by, coming from the direction of Augustus's office to the living room. She's wearing a silky bathrobe, but it's obvious there's nothing else under it. All the important bits are covered, but barely. Don't let us interrupt, Ares says in annoyance as Augustus wanders out of his office. At least he is fully clothed. There isn't even a hair out of place. I don't even want to know. I won't, Augustus says with a smirk. The woman takes a seat on the couch, and the chef walks out of the kitchen with a tray of food. She helps herself without a word. Thankfully, Augustus comes out with some documents in a folder, which he hands over to Ares. Take care of this, and you can step up to the next level, son. What does that mean? What does that mean? I want to scream because it makes something in me jump to attention. It makes me hope. It's already done, Ares says, never once breaking his father's gaze. All I needed was this and the signatures. It's all signed, Augustus says with a wicked grin. Well done. I nearly jump out of my skin when movement from my left startles the shit out of me. Another woman wanders out of Augustus's office. She has on some lacy panties, but nothing else. Allez-vous enfin nous rejoindre, Aris? She says as she walks by us, eyeing my fake fiancé up and down with absolutely no shame. I don't know any foreign languages, but that definitely sounded French to me. Bianca, Ares says, his nostrils flaring in annoyance and disgust. It's been a few years. Too many, she says, the words heavily accented. Her eyes are fucking Ares already, but she wanders by, straight to the woman on the couch. She kisses the woman's neck, her hands not hesitating as they lay claim. You're welcome to Don't you fucking dare proposition me again. I cut Augustus off with a glare that could kill. He simply grins, until Ares steps forward. There's the quick switch of metal on metal, and I get a glimpse of a switchblade before Ares presses the tip into his father's chest, right over his heart. He fists Augustus's expensive shirt, keeping his father from being able to step back. You make another disgusting comment to my fiancé again, and I will make sure it's the last words you ever utter, Ares says. His tone is low and lethal. His eyes are so cold, surely it's no longer the god of war he's named after, but the god of death. You proposition her to join you in this house ever again, and I'll make sure you never create another child. Yet live to suffer the rest of your life without a dick. Do you understand me, Augustus? When it comes to my future wife, you're on monk-level behavior. Got it? Careful, my son, Augustus says, pride and vengeance warring on his face. You're starting to sound exactly like the man I've trained you to be. The sight of something red behind the two of them draws my attention. Behind the warring father and son, Bianca's lips have latched onto the first woman's neck, and from that point of connection, a trail of blood drips down her flesh. The woman sits there, frozen. Bianca makes a noise of greed, pulling harder. Her hand comes to the woman's neck, and she smears that trail of blood over her skin. My heart thuds hard in my chest. A faint ringing starts somewhere in the room, or in my head. The breath catches in my throat, and when I look back at Ares and Augustus, the knife is no longer at Augustus's chest. Ares has the blade pressed to the side of his father's throat, and a trickle of blood drips from it. I'm nothing like you. I may be your protege, but I will never be like you. My eyes fix on the blood dripping down to his collar now. My vision starts to tunnel, and the room grows darker. The floor seems to shift beneath my feet, but I swear I won't go down. If blood makes you squeamish, you are marrying into the wrong family, my dear. Augustus's words barely register in my brain, but Ares' head suddenly whips around, his gaze meeting mine, and in a movement that's too fast for me to see, he's at my side. His hazel eyes fill my vision, and in them, I see panic rising. Get me out of here, I try to say, but the words are so constricted in my throat, I'm not sure they make it out. The room spins as I look back at the blood staining Augustus's collar. He reaches up, touching the cut, and the blood smears. And my throat closes off. It's no longer Augustus's fancy home I'm seeing, but the wreckage of an old, drab apartment. There's blood, so much blood, everywhere, on the floor, on the table, all over their clothes, their bodies. It's splattered on the walls. My stomach rolls. I'm faintly aware that my feet are moving, but when I trip over what I think are stairs, I'm swept off my feet. Emmy's hair, glued to her face with blood, red staining Mom's chest. The blue rug under the table is no longer blue, but purple, now that it's saturated with red. Lana. A voice calls my name after the sharp sound of what might be a door closing. Something warm and firm caresses my face. Lana. Screams. Someone was screaming. Me. And then the cries of the neighbor, the flashing lights of the police cars. Questions, so many questions, my own sobs, and finally the warm, familiar embrace of my father. But there was so much blood. Lana. A scared voice begs. I blink, realizing that my cheeks are wet with tears. A warm hand once more wipes over my face, and I suck in a sharp breath. Aries' face comes into focus. We're in the middle of my bed, back in our apartment. How the hell did we get here? Lana. Aries breathes out in relief. His hands tremble just slightly as he wipes his thumb over my cheek, his fingers splayed back into my hair. Fuck. Are you okay? Do you need a doctor? The tears well in my eyes again, but this time they don't break free. I'm so damn embarrassed. I'm so sorry, Aries. We can't do this. You're a fucking vampire, and I see a little blood and lose my shit. Hey, he says, grabbing my wrists as my hands rise to thread through my hair, my entire body shaking. You have nothing to be sorry for, and it's going to take more than a little trauma blackout to scare me away, Vengeance. I freeze at that, because just like that, he's seen it for exactly what it was. How the hell can he read it so well? How is he not walking away in embarrassment? Do you want to talk about it? He says softly. Those eyes study my face, and I'm astounded by the lack of judgment in his expression. There's only concern. Who the hell is Aries Hunt? 'Cause there's no way he's a real man. He's the most complicated, perplexing male I've ever laid eyes on, or had the privilege of touching. I squeeze my eyes closed and try as hard as I can not to picture what landed me here, but it's there, branded to the back of my eyelids. When I was 15, I'd been at school late, I say, even without giving my lips permission to share the past. I'd been sick a few days before, and I had to make up 2 different tests. I didn't come home until a few hours after Emmy had already gone home. Mom, she worked in the office at the school, so she usually walked with us to and from. She and Emmy went ahead of me since I was going to be a while. Aries takes my hands, which were lying in my lap. He smooths his thumb over the back of my hands, his tattoos standing in stark contrast to my own clear skin. When I came home, my words shake as they fail, and it's like I'm right there again. The front door was ajar. I knew something wasn't right. It was so damn cold that day. The wind had been blowing sideways, and the rain was starting to fall. My shoes were half soaked. The lobby floor had been slippery and dirty, but despite the heater running, the hallway had seemed cold when I stepped onto our floor. My ears started ringing before I stepped foot into our apartment, as if I already knew. I walked inside, and I squeezed my eyes closed. Mom was on the floor, in the dining room. Emmy was lying in the kitchen. They'd been stabbed. Aries curses under his breath, the look in his eyes softening. It was 7 times for Mom, I say, as my voice cracks. 3 times for Emmy. I guess the guy who did it took a little mercy on a 12-year-old. The police said she would have been gone within seconds, so at least she didn't suffer very long. The rage that fills me when I think about what they did to her, how they did make my mother suffer, makes me want to end the whole damn world. The evil that some can possess is enough to make you want to give up on humanity. Aries brings a hand to the back of my neck, pulling me forward until his forehead touches mine. I'm so sorry, Lana. I shake my head as a few of those tears finally force themselves free. They land on Aries' hand. Apparently, there was a drug dealer who lived in the apartment above ours. He had a wife, a kid, so when some deal went bad, this guy went after them all. But he was off by one floor. And then he took off. I don't even know if he realized he killed the wrong family. He fucking got away with it. The police never even had a suspect. Aries swears again, a slew of the darkest curses. The blood, Aries, I say as my voice breaks. There was so much of it. All over them, all over the apartment. Mom put up a fight. She didn't go down easy. So it was her blood, all over everything. I can see it so clearly. Smeared in the kitchen, over the table, splattered on the ceiling fan. The whole apartment was crimson. I guess I started screaming, and I don't know how no one heard it when the intruder was taking Mom out, but I guess the screams of a teenage girl are more to worry about. A neighbor came looking. He must have been the one who called the police. I wasn't particularly coherent. I, I don't even remember how I got to the police station, but there I was, and the next thing I knew, Dad was walking into that sterile, cold room. Aries shakes his head, his eyes squeezed closed. I missed an entire month of school after that, I say quietly. The utter panic, the terror that was raging through me begins to ebb just a little bit. But even after I went back, I wasn't okay. I started talking to a therapist right away, but I was still processing. Honestly, I was pretty fucked up for at least 2 years. Guess I'm still not okay. That wasn't a one-time event, Aries. I see blood and I'm right back there. You don't have to be okay, Lana, Aries says. He opens his eyes, staring into my own. We're close. So damn close. Just 2 breaths apart. The reality is that not a person on this planet is okay. We're all bruised. We're all broken. We've all got scars. You're still Lana fucking Kincaid. He catches me so off guard. A little laugh huffs over my lips. I bite my lower one and shake my head. Aries, this doesn't make any sense. You are what you are, and there is always going to be blood involved. I don't want to embarrass you again like that, or get us into a situation that compromises what we're doing. Aries presses his thumb against my lips, effectively cutting off my words. Not a chance, Vengeance, he says, his eyes darkening as he shakes his head. You couldn't embarrass me if you tried. We're in this together, got it? Vengeance and Venom. I search his face, looking for evidence of lies, of doubt. People can say whatever they want and not mean it. Words can be said to use people, to trick others, to manipulate, but I can't find any evidence of that in Aries' eyes. There are a lot of things I want to say right now. There are a lot of things I'm feeling right now. I'm too exhausted, though. Okay, I say simply. And as if he can read my mind, Aries shifts in the bed, lying back against the pillows. And like it's something he's done 1,000 times before, he gathers me into his arms, my head coming to rest on his chest. Get some sleep, Vengeance, he says softly. And I know I'm in trouble when he presses a kiss to the top of my head. I search for words, but can't find any that make sense or won't put us in a world of trouble. Aries could have berated me for embarrassing him today, for potentially compromising our mission. Instead, he's reassured me. Instead, he's curled up in the bed with me, holding me with strong arms that make me feel safe. Instead of overthinking it, I nuzzle into Aries' side. My fingers cling to his perfect body. My head rises and falls in time on his chest to his breath. He brushes his fingertips over my arm, sending a wash of goosebumps over my skin. Sleep, Vengeance, he says in little more than a whisper. I've got you. Chapter 14. I watch out the window as Manhattan flashes by. It's been dark for 2 hours, but New York is never truly dark. There are endless lights out there. Billboards, streetlights, glowing windows from the night owls. New York never truly rests, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Billings drives me without a word. Aries had to be at the ball early, getting everything squared away, making sure everything was in place, and he was meeting with the barons. Since I needed time to get ready, I stayed home. Now it's 15 minutes until starting time, and we're just a few minutes away. There are already several other limousines lined up at the curb, all waiting for their turn at the drop-off. I watch as one well-dressed man or woman after another climbs out, and I wonder what the ratio of vampires to human at this event will be tonight. Just before we pull up to the drop-off, I watch the front doors as walking sin exits. Ares moves like the god he's named for, his dark eyes fixed on the SUV as we stop right in front of him. My heart starts hammering as he steps forward and pulls the door open. He reaches a hand inside, and the entire world turns electric as I take it. The skin-to-skin contact leaves me craving more, leaves me wondering how many volts we could generate if there was more contact. So much more. Fuck. Ares breathes as I step from the vehicle, my dress cascading down around me. Shamelessly, his eyes rake over every inch of me, taking their time, and I feel weak in the knees, in the chest, in the mind, as I drink my fake fiancé in. He's wearing a dark burgundy suit trimmed in black and gold that is exactly the same shade as my dress, and it was tailored to hug every inch of his body in the most sinful way possible. He's traded out his typical silver for gold-trimmed diamond studs in his ears and a golden hoop in his nose. He's perfectly matched the golden earrings cascading from my own piercings. You look... I clear my throat, trying to make the words work because I feel damn speechless. Any bodies I put in the ground tonight are all your fault, Vengeance. He growls, pulling me in close, his breath sliding down my neck as he delivers the words. Others looking at you makes me feel a little vicious, but fuck, who could keep their eyes off you? Heat climbs my cheeks as my eyes rise to meet his. I see something new in Aries' eyes that I haven't seen before. A darkness is there. Possession, violence, feral hunger. It pours gasoline on the fire that's already burning in me, the one he lit the second I saw him in that suit. I picked this one for you, I shamelessly confess, as Ares wraps a hand around my waist, his palm sliding low, only a hair away from being positioned on my ass. I cover his hand with my own, ensuring he doesn't move it. You're playing with fire, Vengeance. He leans in, saying the words to my exposed bare shoulder before pressing his hot lips to my skin. Shit, I am going to absolutely combust and burn this fantastic dress to embers. We walk through the doors and effortlessly, Ares guides us back into the building until we step into a beautiful ballroom, and my jaw drops. Everything gleams and glitters. The chandeliers are wild. There are gauzy drapes hanging from everything, making the room feel elegant and intimate. Every furnishing is covered in black velvet. The tables are covered with white tablecloths, and the centerpieces look like they cost more than I make in a month. And everyone in attendance is dressed to the nines. Tuxedos, gowns, elaborate hair, and professional makeup. It's the kind of event you only see in movies. Lana, a familiar voice calls from behind. I turn to see Cisco walking up, a smug smile on his face. Aren't you motive for murder tonight? They might deliver it in varying ways, but Cisco and Ares are not that different. Good to see you, Cisco, I say as he takes my hand and brings it up to press a kiss to the back of it. Ares watches him closely, still evaluating the man. I want to tell him he's got nothing to worry about and that he should just accept the inevitable. These two are going to be friends one day, but maybe now isn't the time. Not when Ares is feeling all possessive with me wearing this dress. Ares, you're looking sharp, Cisco says with an oblivious smile as he looks my date up and down. Bold choice with the red. Don't get offended if I steal the idea for the next preening event. Copycat, Ares says, the first tiny joke I've heard him make, and a small smile cracks the corners of my mouth. Where's your date tonight? Not all of us are blessed with perfect better halves, my brother, Cisco says, still smiling as he surveys the crowd. and I realize I don't actually know who the hell all these people are or why we're even here. My control might be flawless in day-to-day life, but in the bedroom? He shakes his head. It might be a while before I dare test that again. How do you manage it, Aries? 'Cause trust me, we're all aware of how you smell, Lana. Which is? I blurt out. He catches me so off guard with the words. Like dessert. Aries and Cisco say at the same time. Oh yeah, Aries already told me. Trust me, it's no easy task. Aries answers Cisco's question, even as he pulls me in closer, looking down at me like, indeed, he'd like to devour me whole. But when you're this obsessed with someone, you'll do anything to keep them around. His words send a cascade of electricity down my spine. I swallow once as I stare into those intense hazel eyes. Damn, that's beautiful. The words should sound sarcastic, but they absolutely aren't when Cisco says them. I'll see you guys later. I've got a bone to pick with Montana. I don't know who the hell Montana is, but Cisco strides off across the ballroom. Aries' words are still echoing in the back of my brain, looping around my organs, settling somewhere low in my belly, but addressing them is way too damn dangerous. So instead, I look around for a distraction. What is this ball actually for? I ask, circling back to my previous thought. Besides proving to Giovanni and Cliff that you're ready to be a baron. Look, Aries says, nodding to a table across the space. At it, there are 4 children seated, accompanied by a very pregnant woman who looks like she spent the entire day prepping to be here, but annoyed at the same time. Aries nods toward another table. There, I find a set of unquestionably triplet girls who look around 15 years old, and with them are a set of twin boys who seem just a few years younger. The barons are showing off their families, Aries says. Those are Giovanni's kids, and that's Cliff's wife and kids. Aries turns, and I follow his line of sight. At another table, I see a woman looking incredibly uncomfortable. With her, she has 2 children, a boy who looks around 6, and a girl who I would guess is 8. Those are some of Augustus's other children. Aries' half-siblings, though from the look on his face, he doesn't see them that way. And who could blame him when Augustus breeds them and leaves them until they were useful age for him? Damn, they're serious about this breeding program, I say, a sneer barely suppressed from my face. I can just imagine the disappointment on Augustus's face when we have to tell them you're not pregnant, Aries says, keeping his tone low so as not to be overheard. He could do with a little more disappointment in his life. Arrogant prick, I mutter, watching my volume as well. Aries smiles at that proud, admiring smile he so often uses. Come on, let's get you some food. Aries places his hand at the small of my back and leads me forward toward the tables where dinner is being served. I take it all in, trying to get a grasp on this wild event. Maybe I'm getting some kind of vampire radar, but I swear I can tell who is vampire and who is human. Of course, there are the human children and some of their human mothers. There are other humans milling about as well. Not just servers, but others dressed in gorgeous clothes. And there are more vampires in attendance than just the barons. If my guesses are right, there are 30 or so vampires in attendance, which is a pretty large percentage of New York's vampire population if there really are only 100 or so. I don't know why, but I expected this to be a massive event with hundreds of people. Instead, there are probably only 60, a few more if I include those who are working the event. They picked the perfect space, though. It feels busy in here. Any larger of a space and it would just feel kind of pathetic. Lana Hunt? My head turns at my name called. A woman walks up to join Aries and me at our table, her own dinner plate in hand. That's me, I confirm, as she sits in the seat right beside me, undeterred by the lack of invitation. Francesca Bosco, she says as she extends a hand. I take it, evaluating the woman. She's probably in her 60s, and while she is beautiful, she kind of looks a little plastic, like she's been fighting the reality of aging and isn't doing it the most gracefully. I like to introduce myself to all the human wives. It can be a lonely place to be. You're also married to a Bourne, I say stupidly. It's obvious, but I'm not sure how to make conversation. There are too many damn weird scenarios in this world. She nods, her eyes scanning the room. Giovanni and I got married before I even knew he was a vampire. She stabs at her salad, but I kind of doubt she's going to eat any of it. Not sure how I missed the signs. I mean, he never left the place during the day. And the way that man could pick me up? I wasn't the trim little thing you see before you now when we met. Gio was into thicker women at the time. As she stares down at her food, I cast a glance at Aries, brows raised. I do not know what to make of Francesca. I was pregnant with our first son before Gio told me what he was, she says, looking up at me as she nibbles on one little carrot. And by that point, what was I gonna do? Take off? I loved the bastard, and we were starting a family. Oh boy, I'm a little scared to see where this story goes. Aries pointed out Giovanni's triplets and twins, and there is no way Francesca is young enough to be their mother. I gave that man 3 sons before this body didn't want to cooperate anymore. She barrels right on. Which is a real shame because I always wanted a whole brood of kids. But you know, modern medicine is a miraculous thing. Did you know they can take your eggs, his sperm, and put them in another woman called a surrogate? Oh, I didn't expect this twist. I nearly choke on my water. Yes, I did. She nods, pressing right on. We did that as soon as I couldn't get pregnant. Thankfully, I still had a good handful of eggs. And you might not think it possible, what with how hard it is for a vampire to conceive. It's a miracle we got the 3 we did. But my Gio gave his donation, and voila, that medical clinic cooked up the triplets, and that poor woman. That's not what she was expecting, but she popped out my girls. Well, not popped out. They had to cut her open, but Gio paid her handsomely for her troubles. And then the twins, aren't they darling? I'm pretty sure she only took 2 breaths throughout all that info dumping. She overwhelmed me like a tide with her oversharing of personal information. They are, I say without thinking. Anyway, I just wanted you to know that it is possible, even though you'll keep aging and they won't. Gio still goes down on me every Sunday night without fail. Bless that man. Forever 46 with this old lady. Bless his heart. She calls out to someone else and waves. Without a word of goodbye, she stands, hauling her plate with her as she goes to greet her next listener. Wow, I say, my brows rising. A chuckle rises up my throat, and I turn to find Aries with a smile, shaking his head. I learned way more about Giovanni's sperm than I ever hoped for. You're a rock star, taking all of that. Aries laughs, his eyes following Francesca through the crowd. You never know. All that information might be useful someday. I watch as Giovanni crosses to his wife, pressing a kiss to her temple. It's kind of sad, though, isn't it? I observe. He's going to live forever, and she's going to die of old age someday. Their love will be forever for him, but till death do them part for her. She looks like she could be his mother. Like she is, no question, 20 years older. But it wasn't always the case. Only a vampire can love you forever, Aries says quietly. I look over at him to find him observing as Giovanni takes Francesca by the hand and leads her to the dance floor. I wonder what's going through his mind, but he doesn't offer any other thoughts. But as I look around and see Cliff's wife sitting with her children, I realize it's the case for any mixed species relationship. Something twists in my chest. If this were real between Aries and I, it would be our story. Aries is forever 26 years old, and I may be only 24, but give it just 2 years and we'd be the same age, and then I would be older, and then it would continue on like that forever, because Aries won't age another day. Aries. I look over to see Augustus looking at his son. When he's caught Aries' attention, Augustus nods for him to join the conversation. Go, I say. I need to use the restroom. He presses a kiss to my forehead as he rises, and damn, the shock of electricity that races through me at that simple contact is almost embarrassing. As Aries goes to talk politics and blood, I make my way through the room, passing between immortal vampires and the humans so desperate to be around them. The bathroom is just as opulent as the rest of the event space. I struggle to use it in my incredible dress, but somehow manage. I wash my hands, looking at myself in the mirror. Who is that woman looking back at me? It's certainly not the bitter, half-starved woman I knew a few weeks ago. The woman looking back at me looks so confident. She has her shit together. She knows her place in the world, and it's impressive, considering that's as a human in a world full of vampires. It's kind of incredible, the influence others can have on you. Aries came into my life, and suddenly I feel like a whole new person, even if I still feel entirely like me. One person can come in and change your life so profoundly, it pushes you into evolution. I dry my hands and step back out into the party. Immediately, my eyes sweep the space for Aries. He's standing beside his father still, deep in conversation with Cliff Morgan and two women I don't recognize. Though somehow I can tell they're also immortal. This looks like it might be a long conversation. With a sigh, I turn, surveying the crowd. It almost looks like it should be any regular rich person's party. It's all talk, jokes being told, the occasional dance. There are no fangs, no traces of blood. No one is lying dead in a corner with puncture marks in their necks. Vampires are surprisingly civil. And who might you belong to? My skin immediately crawls at the sound of the voice approaching. I turn to find a man who looks to be in his mid-30s walking toward me. He holds a wine glass with suspiciously red liquid in it, his other hand tucked into the pocket of his trousers. I think you've mistaken me, I say, my tone coming out cold and sharp. I'm no dog. I don't belong to anyone. I turn to walk away, maneuvers running through my mind automatically, ones I would teach my students to use on assholes like this. A woman who holds her own, he says, stepping after me. A rarity in this world. I doubt that, I say, still walking across the room. From my experience, only those who say shit like that hold that view. It's a you problem, not a general blanket fault. She's spicy and strong, he says with a chuckle. A quick punch to the throat that would probably stop him from spewing the terrible misogyny coming from his lips. Though most likely he's a vampire. So spiked heels to the testicles? But rude, he says as I work my way around the outside edge of the room. I'd take him down right here, but damn, do I really want to cause a scene? The least you could do is look me in the eye as you reject me. Respect is earned, I say, as I step around a woman in the fluffiest ball gown I've ever seen. And you blew that the first moment you spoke. Come on now, he says, and my heart rate picks up. It's all about the game, the pursuit. You realize vampires are predators, right? What do you think your evasiveness is doing to my instincts right now? Fuck. My eyes flick around the room as I realize this might not be someone I can handle on my own. I've always been one to have the attitude that a woman needs to be able to save herself. I've made it my entire career. But this is no ordinary dick that is chasing after me. Where is Aries? Or hell, even Cisco? Fuck, at this point, I think I might even try to get Augustus to help. Come on, sweetheart. At least give me the courtesy of 1 minute of conversation. A hand wraps around my wrist, pulling me to a jarring halt, flipping me around to face him. I get 2 seconds to actually take the man's face in, telling myself to commit it to memory so I can unquestionably point him out in the crowd later. Black hair, gray eyes, uneven facial hair, a scar going down the left side of his face. But he grins at me predatorily, victory gleaming in his eyes. Get your fucking hand off my fiancée. The words are spoken in an unforgiving snarl, and movement over my right shoulder pulls my eyes for a fraction of a second before there's a sickening, wet crunch. Aries' fist buries itself into the man's chest. My eyes widen as I take it in. Aries' hand is gone, fully submerged. The cracking sounds of bone fill my ears. The man sucks in a wet gasp. Aries yanks his hand back, and I've never, ever heard such a sound. Wet ripping, tearing, separation, shredding of tissue. Aries stands there, his eyes burning a violent, glowing red, with a wrecked heart in his hand, his breathing huffs ragged and savage. The man stands there for just 1 second, horrified shock etched over his face. And then he collapses to the ground, a limp mass of limbs on the floor, blood spilling out of him. And I have no words as I watch the color drain out of his body, and he turns completely gray. Finally, a voice cuts through what I realize was complete silence. I look up to see every eye in the room turned to Aries, but it was Cisco who spoke. Dimitri was such a dick. Had it coming. The room is silent. Every eye in the room fixed on the barely contained rage that is Ares, a man's heart gripped in his hand. Let it be a warning, he says, and his voice is ice. It sends a shiver down the length of my body. Put your hands on Lana, and it'll be the last thing you do. I feel numb, cold, frozen. Is this shock? But as I look at Ares, reality starts connecting just a little. Red. Ares' hand is coated in red. I wait for it, for my vision to tunnel, for my breathing to speed up, for the panic to climb up my throat. Since my mom and sister were murdered, I see blood and I shut down. This is the most blood I've seen since that day. It's dripping from Ares' hand. It's pooling on the floor. But all I feel is shock. Always knew Augustus's line had a flair for the dramatic, Giovanni says, but it sounds like a compliment. It's confirmed when he winks in Ares' direction and turns back to the party. And, like this is nothing more than an argument, the rest of the party continues on. Conversations resume. The music turns back on. And it's as if everything is normal, and there isn't a body on the floor and blood pooling on the polished wood. Lana. My name comes from Ares' lips in panicked shock. My eyes rise back to meet his. He's staring at me with wide, alarmed eyes, as if he's suddenly remembered what happened the last time I saw blood. He's searching me for signs of passing out, of the oncoming panic attack. Where the hell is it? I search myself internally for the signs of any of it. My eyes slip back down to Ares' blood-soaked hand. I am in shock, but I don't feel like I'm about to lose it. My mouth opens, but I can't find the words in my brain. So I just shake my head. No, that's not right. I nod. Ares drops the heart in the center of the collapsed man. He shakes his hand, dripping blood all over the place, but he places his dry hand on my waist, guiding me to a table. Sit here for just a minute. I'll say my goodbyes and we'll get out of here. I feel too shell-shocked and too numb to respond with anything but a nod. I sit in the chair, casting my gaze about the room. Eyes dart in my direction, their looks evaluative. But there's something different there than previously. Fear, maybe? Respect? The rules of this world are so different from my own. I don't know how to interpret them. Do I even really remember how to breathe in this moment? Cisco told me I was a motive for murder tonight. Ares warned me about any bodies he might put in the ground. Someone actually died tonight because he put his hands on me. The sound of silverware clanging against glass startles me, my shoulders shrugging up to my ears. Excuse me, if I could have your attention, please. It's Augustus. He holds a glass up, his eyes casting about the room. The Barons of New York City, thank you for coming to our event. You are all an important piece of this city. Together, we can make this place a stronghold for our kind. Together, we will make a presence here in the greatest place on earth. And today, it is my greatest pleasure, my honor, to present to you the newest Baron, my eldest son, Ares Hunt. To Mr. Hunt, Giovanni says, raising his glass in a vote. To Ares, Cisco says, also raising a glass. To Ares Hunt, Harry Kim says, looking bored of this party. To Ares, Cliff votes lastly, raising his glass. And my fake fiancé stands there, next to his father. He holds his chin high, his eyes dark as he looks around. He looks every bit the part. A dangerous, powerful leader of creatures of the night in the country's most populated city. To Ares Hunt, the crowd calls out, raising a glass to toast to him. And all at once, they sip from their glasses, and the deed is done. My hands tremble in my lap. It's so easy to forget with Ares, what he really is, why we made our alliance, the darkness that comes with this world. But this is reality, and I can never forget it. The conversations resume around the room, and I breathe just a little easier when things seemingly go back to normal. I feel cold as Ares strides across the room, his eyes fixed on me. He reaches out his clean hand, helping me to my feet. "Let's go home," he says, and I can't quite read his tone, but I'm still in too much shock to do so anyway. I shuffle forward, my hand in his. Eyes watch us go, but no one remarks. No one stops us. And I realize that Aries is now an important, respected man. Everyone lets him through without question. Neither one of us says a word as we exit the building. And I don't know how he knew, but Billings pulls the SUV up to the curb at just the right moment. Aries pulls the door open for me and climbs in after I've settled into my seat. The drive back to our building is silent. My eyes look out the window, but they're unfocused, not taking anything in. My hands are folded in my lap, picking absent-mindedly at my expensive dress. Red. The sounds. Aries' gleaming eyes. All because that man touched me. The man who essentially called me his prey. I saw so much blood, and this time I didn't lose it. What does that mean? Why was this time different? Chapter 15. It feels as if it's only been 30 seconds before the car pulls to a stop, and my door is suddenly being opened by Billings. I blink twice before I take his hand and step out of the vehicle. Silently, Aries walks beside me as we walk into the beautiful front doors. But just as we step inside, he tucks his right hand into his jacket, hiding his bloodied weapon. Neither one of us looks up as we walk through the lobby, but thankfully it's empty at the moment. I push the button to call the elevator, and I breathe a sigh of relief when it opens immediately. We step inside, and quietly, we ascend through the building. I let out another breath of relief once we're inside our apartment, the door locked behind us. "I'm going to shower," Aries says, striding across the space. And I feel like I'm finally waking up, and I realize it's not just me who has been acting a little shell-shocked over the last 20 minutes or so, but Aries is acting off as well. He has been so quiet. His gaze was contemplative as we rode home, and he seems removed as he immediately goes to the bedroom and then into the bathroom. I stand there, a little confused, in the dining room alone. Shit. I have to confront what happened tonight. Aries killed a man. A predator. The man literally called himself that. I was his prey. But still, Aries killed him. And the way he killed him? I have to remember what Aries is. He's told me before, reminded me that he is dangerous. The word vampire too often becomes arbitrary. Just like how some people are electricians or Italian. Aries is vampire. But I cannot forget what that means. And that is not human anymore. Aries has died. Aries has resurrected and come back as something different. I wander into the bedroom, standing at the window, looking out at Central Park. Even at this hour, at nearly 4 in the morning, there are still people out and about, and for a fleeting moment I wonder, are they out late or up extremely early? Once upon a few weeks ago, there was no way I would ever be awake at this hour. I've always been a morning person, which means an early-to-bed person. My life looks so damn different. The sound of the door to the bathroom opening pulls my eyes over my shoulder. Aries stands there in sweatpants and a white t-shirt. The sight is almost jarring. I've never seen him dressed so casually. And he's so clean now. No traces of blood. His right hand is no longer solidly red. How do you just wash that kind of blood away? Doesn't killing someone stain you forever? "You killed a man today," I say, the words coming out hoarse. It feels like days since I last spoke, not less than an hour. "I'm sorry you had to see it, Vengeance," he says, and I'm having a hard time reading his tone. "But I'd do it again. You told him no, and he had the gall to touch you." "I might have handled it," I say, and I don't know what the hell is happening when something stings the back of my eyes. "I know," he says, his own eyes darkening. He takes a step into the room. "You're Lana fucking Kincaid." Moisture pools in my eyes as I finally figure it out. I might have handled it on my own, but I didn't have to. For once, someone else had me. For once, someone took care of me. And that is the reason why seeing blood didn't affect me for the first time since my mother and sister were killed. Ares was protecting me, and I knew it with every bone in my body. Lana, Ares says, my name coming across his lips like a prayer of agony. His hazel eyes are fixed on my own, and I can tell something big is coming. I can't do this anymore. Everything in my chest drops out into nothingness. Instantly, I feel cold. Ares, I say, the name coming out hurt. He shakes his head and takes another step into the room. I can't do this anymore, Vengeance. I can't pretend anymore. I want you for real, Lana Kincaid. Every touch, every kiss, every glance, every night, every shower, every dinner. Real. Lana and Ares. The breath catches in my chest with every word he speaks. I feel something building inside me, rising with the force of an oncoming tsunami. I turn to fully face Ares. His chest is rising and falling hard, but the look in his eyes screams absolute confidence and conviction. I'm done pretending, Lana, Ares says, his voice low, intimate. I'm all fucking in. I cross the bedroom in 4 long strides, and I don't slow as my body collides with Ares. My hands come to either side of his face, and my lips find their home, devouring, claiming, branding. This kiss, with no witnesses around, is searing. Ares' lips cave to mine, moving in time with my own. His tongue greedily seeks out mine, and I'm all too anxious to dance. Finally. It's the word that my entire body sighs as I sag into Ares' embrace, as his hands circle my waist, pulling me tighter, holding me close. Finally. And I realized that I never stood a chance. I might have walked into this agreement with caution, with a chip on my shoulder, but Ares is my match, the equal to my bitterness, the perfect counter to my own hurt. I want you, Ares, I say against his lips. A feral growl of approval rumbles in his chest as he moves his lips to my neck, and my entire body feels electric, alive, godlike. I realize how dangerous this is. This man has fangs. This man could drain the life force from me in less than a minute, and his lips are latched to my neck. But I trust him. As a sigh escapes my throat and I tilt my head back, I absolutely trust him. Closer. I need closer. Even though his hands are wrapped around me, I need so much damn closer. I lift my right leg, rising myself up onto my toes of the left. Ares' hands slide down over my ass to my thighs to hoist me up. But my dress falls all too in the way. With an annoyed growl, Ares gives a swift yank, splitting the dress from the bottom up to my thighs. A wicked smile pulls on my lips as he tries once more, his hands hooking behind my legs, and this time it's successful. My legs wrap around his waist. Ares spins, planting my back against the wall, and the contact between my legs makes my entire body spark. Ares pins me to the wall with his hips ground into mine. He looks into my eyes for one hot, heated moment. There are red embers ignited there, his hunger a threat to the entire world. Greedily, I take his lips again, devouring the man's soul. Tell me what you want, Vengeance, Ares says against my lips, his hands gripping my hips with the most delicious possessiveness. My fingers lace into his hair, and he leans into my touch, his eyes blazing as he looks into my own eyes. I want you. All of you. Right the fuck now. Fuck yes, he growls, the sound rumbling through his entire body, which I feel everywhere. He releases me, my body sliding down the wall till my feet hit the ground, and with another sharp yank, Ares rips the rest of my dress clean in half. The tattered fabric falls to a pile at my feet as a gasp rips from my throat. The wicked grin that pulls on his lips is enough to melt me through. Like what you see, Venom? I ask as I step forward, pushing him back a step. He seems to have lost his words for the moment. He simply nods, and it's my turn. My eyes scan down the length of his body. Too many clothes. My hands find the hem of his shirt, and I hoist up, yanking the fabric up and over his head. Finally, it clears his head, a bit of a challenge considering our height difference. His shirt falls to the floor in a soft cascade. I take a moment to take him in. My eyes scan from the waistband of his pants, up the defined muscles of his stomach, over the rise of his chest. Shit, this man's body is perfection. I've been around a lot of incredible physiques throughout my life. Growing up in a combat sports gym, I've seen a few well-defined guys, but none of them hold a candle to Ares' Hunt, and every inch of his skin is tattooed. Gargoyles, skulls, crows, moons, patterns, runes. Ares' body is the most beautiful tapestry of art I've ever seen. Like what you see, Vengeance? He asks, a smile tugging on his lips. Fuck me, I simply breathe out. He surges forward, taking my lips once more. He walks me backward to the bed. With one hand cupped behind my neck, he lowers me to the bed with his other, and my entire body lights on fire as Ares presses his lips to my stomach. His lips are 1,000 degrees as he works them higher until, finally, they work their way up to the base of my sternum. And when he comes to the obstacle of my bra, he reaches up, and with one yank of his wrist, he tears that bit of fabric right off me too. A curse and a prayer slip over his lips as he unabashedly stares at my breasts. And my eyes close in ecstasy as he kisses his way up the underside curve of the right one, until finally his lips latch onto my hardened nipple. Ares, I breathe, writhing beneath his touch. He answers only with a growl, sucking on me hard before he turns his attention to the other side. With a wide, flat tongue, he licks his way from the underside up until his lips once more latch onto me on that side. Fuck, this man. His mouth. His hand slides down my stomach and then to my thigh. He grips my ankle, turning my leg out until I'm spread for him. And slowly, with fingers that feel molten, he slips them beneath my lacy panties. And he doesn't hesitate as his fingers slide to my folds, finding them slick with my arousal. The fact that you're wet for me, Vengeance, he growls as he bites at my stomach, and suddenly he slips a finger inside of me. A gasp rips from my throat, and I feel like I've been lit with 100 fireworks. He stretches me farther as he pushes another finger inside. A moan escapes my lips, and I tilt my head back, gripping the blanket as I cling to the earth for dear life. You know how long I've been fantasizing about this, he says softly as his thumb presses directly on my clit. He drags it back and forth across it in the most delicious way. Since you asked how to kill a vampire, being in this apartment, not being able to touch you, not making you scream my name every night, he growls, licking at my skin as if I'm the last meal he'll ever partake in. Please allow me to make up for lost time. Ares, I say, his name coming out a little desperate as something gathers beneath his thumb. It comes from the far reaches of my body, pushing me toward the edge of a cliff. Perfect, Vengeance, he says, the excitement picking up in his tone. He pistons his fingers in and out of me, picking up the pace, curling his fingers, hitting that spot deep within me as he rubs my clit with precision. His free hand cups my side, and the bare skin to bare skin is the very best sensation in this world. He presses a reverent kiss to my stomach before shifting back, and the very next moment he licks up the very center of me before latching his lips onto my clit and sucking hard. I fall off that cliff. My entire body tenses, wound tight as a coil, and then I detonate. The orgasm rips through me, draining the life from every corner of my being. Ares' name rips from my chest in a wild, feral cry as I squeeze his head with my thighs. He sucks harder, his tongue stroking over my clit in the next moment, pushing my ecstasy to a level I never even knew existed. A cry rips from my chest, and as my eyes fly open, all I see is white stars, The world dissolved into perfect bliss. Ares gives one last lap at my pussy as the high begins to subside. Just before he surges forward, claiming my mouth with his own, I taste myself on his lips, and it's the headiest thing I've ever experienced. His hand cups my jaw, kissing me like I've never been kissed in my life. Desperately, I claw at the sweats slung low around his hips, and I shove them down, and Ares maneuvers as I do, kicking them off the bed. With a gasp, I push myself up the bed till my head hits the pillow. Ares kneels there, looking every bit of me over with predatory possessiveness. My eyes trail down the perfection of his body until finally I see it. Thick and long, my mouth goes dry as I take him in. Fuck, if that isn't the prettiest cock I've ever seen in my life. Think you can take it, Vengeance? He asks. And while it's wicked and teasing, it's also sincere, with just a hint of worry. I simply nod wickedly, reaching for him. I want it, now. Suddenly, the grin on his face falters. Fuck, Lana, I don't have any condoms, he laments, and I'm not looking to get you pregnant with any born babies. My period ended yesterday morning, I say, breathless, pulling him to me. You're not going to get me pregnant this time of month. Thank fuck, he breathes, leaning in, kissing me in a searing kiss that reaches my very core. Between us, I feel him fist himself. He rubs the head of his cock along my entrance, a tease I can barely stand. He looks up, meeting my eyes for just a moment. One last request for consent. I nod, and Ares moves forward, sliding into me. I have to let out a breath, my entire body freezing for a moment. Shit, I feel full, absolutely stretched to the brim. But as he hesitates for a moment, giving me a second to adjust to him, my body relaxes just a little, and he slides in farther. Damn, how is there any more room inside me to take any more of him? As I let out a breath, he slides inside me farther still, until finally, he bottoms out, buried to the hilt inside of me. You okay? Ares breathes, the air coming in and out of his lungs ragged. His entire body is trembling, as if it's taking everything in him to hold back. I take a second to answer. I feel as if he's climbed into every bit of me, occupying my body at the same time. But by the second, it feels sensational, like fate, like exactly where I'm supposed to be. Fuck me, I breathe out again as I rise up to meet my lips to his. His tongue invades my mouth, and slowly, gently, he slides out of me before pressing back inside. I let out a slow breath, Ares catching every bit of air. My body relaxes to him, stretches, adapts. And shit, the sensation of him inside me? More, I beg. Ares buries his lips against my throat, bracing himself on his forearms above me as he slides in and out. I raise my knees around his hips, opening wider. My entire world centers down to this moment, to this man, to this union. I rock my hips against him as Ares slides in and out, and when I moan in desperation for more, he picks up the pace. My head spins with the intensity, with the incredible sensations ripping through me. I've had sex before, with 2 other men, but nothing compares to Ares Hunt. The lithe form of his body, the immense size of him, the words he whispers against my skin, the kisses that turn me electric. I nearly cry out in frustration when Ares slides out of me completely. But I'm rewarded almost immediately by him sliding the length of himself over my clit. And the slick pressure of it immediately chases me sky high. The sensation comes over me again as he grinds himself up over my clit, and that it's my wetness giving it lubrication. Fuck, I've never been more turned on in my life. My head throws back as a gasp rips from my throat, and I'm shot out of a cannon toward my undoing. Ares, I cry, and just as I trip over the edge, he plunges back into me, spearing me all the way through the center. The feral, ragged noises coming from his lungs propel me harder, faster. I shatter. Ecstasy, bliss. Ares is my undoing as I come, and it is not quiet. Ares curses as a roar rips from his lips, and he shudders into me, his entire body tensing around me, caging me in. By the time it subsides, I'm a quivering, shaking mess, and I've never, ever felt more satisfied in my existence. There are roughly 4 million other women in this city, and I am the only one who gets to touch Ares' hunt. He is mine. Mine. You were perfect, Vengeance. Ares pants, and I take it as a massive compliment that I can make a vampire pant. I stare up into his eyes, and something in me darkens. I realize there is a part of me I didn't know existed, because I would do just about anything for this man. Not all of them good, not all of them wise. You're mine, Ares Hunt, I tell him in a dark promise. Every piece of me. He agrees. He presses a kiss to my lips, sealing it as a vow. My body feels heavy now. The last of my energy reserves burned up. As if he can sense it, Ares rolls off of me. Reaching for the tissues on the nightstand, he gently, carefully positions himself between my legs, cleaning me up. There's something vulnerable about it on both our parts, something tender. I'd never let any other man do this, ever. But this is Ares. He discards the tissues when he's done and lays back on the pillow. He gathers me in his arms, and I let out a tired, breathy sigh as I rest my head on his chest. It feels like everything is exactly as it should be in this moment. Sleep, Lana, Ares says as he presses a kiss to the top of my head. You were perfect in every way today. Now you deserve some sleep. And so I do. With my arms wrapped around the center of my world, I close my eyes and let darkness take me under.